Alright, I'm back from vacation, so you know what that means. We have to catch up on all the news that has taken over the NHL world the past few days. Now, this topic is an evolving story, and it's one that, on my way back from Harrison to Vancouver, I was kind of reading the tweets, seeing the updates, seeing all the statements and opinions made about Mike Babcock, head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I was like, okay, I'm happy that I'm not making a video about this right away. Because we had ourselves the initial allegations made on Babcock at a certain time. A few hours later, you had other people making statements about that. Even further down the line, you had statements from Babcock himself, Columbus Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner. You had Johnny Gaudreau say something about it. You had Nazem Kadri getting dragged into this controversy once more. And then you had doubling down, even more people saying, oh yeah, this is bad, and then some more people saying, oh, this is okay. And now, it's been about, what is it? Let's just say 20 hours from when the initial report was released. I'm sitting down here, I'm recording this video. By the time it's public on YouTube, we might not actually be up to date. There may be even more information about this story that is public. But let's go over the story as I know it right now. As I'm speaking into this microphone, this is the scoop. This all started from a tweet made by Spittin Chicklets not a few hours ago, 19 hours ago at the time of recording this audio. You had Paul Bissonnette on the show going out there and making some pretty serious allegations towards the Columbus Blue Jackets head coach Mike Babcock. The story is linked in the description if you wanted to listen to the clip, but essentially, Paul Bissonnette is receiving a story from a Columbus Blue Jackets player, and the player tells Biz, hey, you hear what Babcock is up to again? Upon expansion, you learn that from the story that Bissonnette is telling, Mike Babcock apparently called Boone Jenner, the captain of the team, in for a meeting. And upon meeting with Boone Jenner, he ends up saying this, let me see the photos on your phone. Let me see the type of person that you really are. And understandably, this is a very serious allegation, especially in the way that it was worded. The way it was worded on the podcast made it seem like, oh yeah, Mike Babcock is going out there and invading these players' personal privacy, demanding, hey, give me your smartphone, I'm going to open up your photos, I'm going to open up your everything, I'm going to scroll through, see what it is that you've got private, hidden away behind this phone screen, because I want to see what kind of person you are. But of course, this is just one side, and you had yourselves a whole bunch of outrage about everything going on afterwards. Here are some more tweets that were tweeted out by some of the other guys on Spittin Chicklets. Mike Commodore goes out there and says this, all of this is 100% true. I heard about this exact same incident out of Columbus 6 weeks ago. Recently, I heard about it happening to multiple players and staff. I was waiting till camp to come out with it to protect sources. Then you had Paul Bissonnette go out there and say himself, hey, this is the text that I got. There's a lot of, cursing about it in the body of the post, but the text message conversation where Biz gets this information says this, you gotta sneak into your podcast about how Mike Babcock is getting guys to show their photos on the big screen, presumably via AirPlay mode. You could do that with iPhone devices. You can AirPlay and show it on a TV screen if you wanted. He's doing it to guys in Columbus. Now the same stuff he had done to me. Guys need to know that it's coming, and it's a joke. What does he do? What photos? I don't understand. Immediately afterwards, you had some reports. This is what Brian Hedger said. I spoke to 2 Columbus officials. One says this is being looked into, and the other said this is total BS. We'll clarify soon. We're waiting on clarification and/or a statement from the team. Well, give it a few hours later, and the Blue Jackets head coach Mike Babcock and center Boone Jenner end up sharing their sentiments. Here's what Mike Babcock said. While meeting with our players and staff, I asked them to share, off their phones, family pictures as part of the process of getting to know them better. There was absolutely nothing more to it than that. The way this was portrayed by the Spittin Chicklets podcast was a gross misrepresentation of those meetings and extremely offensive. These meetings have been very important and beneficial, not only for me but for our players and staff as well, and to have them depicted like this is irresponsible and completely inaccurate. Boone Jenner then says this, while meeting with Babs, he asked me about my family and where I'm from, my upcoming wedding and hockey-related stuff. He then asked if I had pictures of my family, and I was happy to share some with him. He showed me pictures of his family. I thought it was a great first meeting and a good way for us to start building a relationship. To have this blown out of proportion is truly disappointing. And you know, I'm going to go out there and say it, this is a good spin by the Blue Jackets PR. Now, I'm not going to go out there and immediately jump to conclusions and say that Mike Babcock is a hero here, but just the way this is phrased by Columbus and their own social media, it makes it seem a lot less invasive. It seems more so like you meet a guy, he's your new head coach, and he says, hey, do you have any pictures of your family on your phone? I want to get to know you more, so I want you to tell me about your family. And that, in particular, seems like a pretty reasonable excuse to get pictures off of somebody's phone in this way, especially if you see, oh yeah, Babcock is showing me pictures of his family as well. Is it a little weird? Yeah, you could probably say it's a bit weird, but it's a lot easier to stomach when you hear it like that. It's not, give me your phone, I'm going to start looking through your photos, I'm going to look at your DMs, I'm going to look at your messages and your recently deleted photos, and I'm going to show it on AirPlay to the rest of the team. Like, it's a little different than that. There's a lot of extremism going on here when describing the magnitude as to how apparently invasive this practice was. And you had yourselves even more players talking about this. Kristen Shelton reported this. Johnny Gaudreau speaks about it, says the allegations were shocking. For me personally, I had a great meeting with Babcock. We got to share things together, pictures of our family. I was a little upset to see the way it was handled and how it came out, but nothing you can do about it. We got off to a great start, had a great meeting with him, and we're looking forward to working together. Now, of course, Boone Jenner is the captain of the team, but Johnny Gaudreau is probably the best player on the team. So for him to go out there and double down, say similar things that, yeah, this is fine, like, this is okay, I'm pretty alright with how it went. He also had Aaron Portzline and Darren Dreger say similar things too. Dreger said this, I'm getting the same account on this as Portzline, including the part where Babcock shared his own personal pictures with management in the process of getting to know each other. Again, is this weird? Kinda, but is this bad? Is this inappropriate? Probably not. In fact, you had yourselves Jack Hahn. I think most of you are familiar with Jack Hahn. He's a hockey consultant. He used to work with the Toronto Marlies in the AHL, and he also was an NHL analyst before. He has his own blog now. He does some really good work online. Around this time in 2019, Mike Babcock actually had a show us picture on your phone meeting with the Leafs and the Marlies coaches. At first, I was like, what's the angle here? I ended up showing a picture of my family to the other coaches. Babcock showed us a picture of his home pickleball court. A reply here asked says, so do you know that Jenner's story is legit? Well, for us, it happened without warning when we stepped into the Leafs coach's room to start the meeting, so I guess it takes you off guard. No idea how things shook out in CBJ. And so, because one NHL or previous NHL executive is pretty much saying, yeah, this happened to me before, 4 years ago in Toronto, he did this, and just kind of saying that similar things happened where Babcock showed off his own family, the other staff members showed off theirs, it becomes a little easier to accept the idea where maybe this wasn't as invasive as the Spittin' Chicklets podcast made it out to be, or how some of the players are depicting it. In fact, here's what Paul Bissonnette said in response to the Columbus debunking it. He said this on Twitter, the texts are coming in like crazy. This is another player apparently reaching out to Biz Nasty saying that story about iPhones and Babcock is 100% true. Apparently he did it in Toronto and did it to the guys in Columbus. He already says he wants to know what guys have been up to this summer. I love you guys on Spittin' Chicklets for exposing Mike Babcock. Here's another statement that I thought was interesting. Kristen Shelton interviewed Nazem Kadri about the Babcock situation, and he said when he was with the Leafs, he had showed Babcock a few pictures, but I think it was pretty innocent. And so with everything going on here, like, these are just some of the quotes floating around there. I didn't read any opinion pieces. I didn't want to go out there and say who's doing what. We can all understand that if a coach is demanding you, or any person in a position of power at your work is demanding you to show your phone and scroll through your photos, scroll through everything that it is that you feel is private, that's not a good thing. That could cost Babcock his job. He should never be allowed to coach again if that was the case. In fact, it was kind of Boone Jenner that had Babcock's career in the palm of his hand. And he went out there and said, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, this was a simple exercise where we would share pictures of the things that we value the most, our families, and he showed us his family as well, so it was a more team bonding experience rather than an invasion of privacy. But of course, the act itself and the exercise itself, it's pretty unorthodox, so I could understand how some players might have felt a bit creeped out by it. But at the end of the day, the way it's depicted on Spittin' Chiclets and the way they talked about it seemed a lot worse than what is coming out as what was the apparent truth in the matter. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire Babcock situation from the Columbus Blue Jackets POV? I hope you enjoyed this video. Carlsson 99, and bye.